What do I want to call this, guys? Like an instant reaction pod, I guess, from the big news.
Impromptu pod.
Yes.
Impromptu pod, Weber State Weekly. We're a member of the Big Sky Podcast Network. I'm your host, Colby Peterson. We've got our panel here today. We're going to talk a little bit about this big news coming from campus today. So on the show tonight, we've got our guy from the Signpost Zone, Simon Mortensen with the shirt. Simon, short time no see. Just chatted with you on Sunday. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I had to get some homework stuff figured out, but I had the day off today, so it's kind of nice. I don't normally get days off, so this is nice.
It's great. What a day to have off.
That's right.
Yeah, and then we got a couple of faces we haven't seen on Weber State Weekly in a little while. We've got our own Sean Lewis. Sean, haven't seen you since March, buddy. How you been, man?
I had to take a couple of days off after the Big Sky tournament, but we're back and better than ever.
Yeah, we appreciated your coverage up there. I thought you did a great job bringing fans in there into kind of what was happening up at ICCU Arena. Really appreciated your work up there, man.
Always a great time up there. Happy to go and happy to see. Wish could have turned out better, but still think that win against Montana was a huge thing for the Wildcats.
Yep. And then finally, we got Dustin Chappie Chapman back on the panel tonight. Same Chappie, haven't seen you since March, man. How's business been going for the Chapman family?
Oh goodness, just got back from softball and then sat down from this. Like Simon, the days off don't you get less days off when you graduate college. They get fewer and further between.
Yeah, especially with those children running you ragged, man.
That's exactly right.
Well, guys, big announcement from Weber State today. I'd say seismic announcement on campus today. It was announced that after 16 seasons, Coach Randy Rahe, the head coach of the men's basketball team, would be retiring. I don't think anybody expected that on a Monday morning. I think we all expected to see Coach Rahe play or coach for at least a few more seasons, probably coach out the remainder of his contract extension, and then kind of, make a decision at that point. But the decision came early. Coach Rahe decided today to make that announcement. And I think it stunned a lot of Wildcat fans. I mean, were you guys surprised to see this happen on a Monday morning that, the dean of Big Sky basketball was going to hang it up and call it a career?
Can I take the lead on this one, Colby?
Yeah,
I think that while this stunned everybody in Wildcat fandom, I'm going to withhold the nation thing because I hate that. But I think this is stunning to everybody that's part of the Wildcat family. But by the same token, it's not surprising because this is the only way Randy Rahe's tenure could end. You cannot fire the all-time winningest coach in Big Sky history. You can't. And we could talk about how Weber State doesn't fire anybody, but this was the only way. He was going to go out on his own terms. Nobody was going to go to Randy and say, "Hey, you're done, leave." This was the only way it was going to happen. And if speculation is correct, he chose his own successor, and that's how it was going to go. This is the only way this transition was going to happen. And we saw this a mile away. I think it may be 1 or 2 seasons earlier than most of us expected. He still had a couple of years left on his deal, but this is the only way it was going to happen. Stunner that it happened today, but not surprising in the method or the way that it happened.
I mean, good opening salvo there from Sean Lewis. I think you're right. Very, very much. If it was going to happen, it was probably going to happen in this way, right? Especially, I think, at the point where we're at in the off season, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But Simon or Chappie, initial thoughts on Coach Rahe's announcements today after 16 seasons?
No, yeah, I agree with Sean that that was the only way it was probably going to happen. It was just going to be right there, a surprise. I mean, he was going to go out on his own terms, everything like that. It was surprising because I feel like I've got a lot of sources, a lot of people in that space, and then all of a sudden, we all found out about it at the same time, just broke, and then. I was stunned. I was immediately, me and Emily were talking about what we were going to do for the signpost on it, everything like that. So just kind of shocking. But yeah, I do agree. It was going to be done that way probably.
Yeah, I mean, a big moment for you guys at the student newspaper to chronicle the retirement of the all-time winningest coach at Weber State and, of course, in the Big Sky Conference. 316 career wins. I mean, how do you do that justice, in the student newspaper and get it right? Not envious of your task. But Chappie, what about you, man? What about your thoughts on today's announcement?
So my immediate reaction, it was relief, but I don't want to say it was relief like, oh good, I'm glad Randy's gone, because I'm not. Like I like Randy as a coach, and I like Randy as a person. We've had him on the show, and he's phenomenal. Like he is a great interview.
He's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I guess it's relief in the sense that, like, to me, what was it, after the 2018 season or so? Like, I think there was a little bit of heat on Randy. Like, things felt like they were kind of getting stagnant. And to Randy's credit, like, they went out and they've raided the transfer portal for the past 2-3 years, to try to do things different, to try to change it up. I mean, that was kind of the perception, was that things were stagnant. So I credit Randy for going out and shaking things up, so to speak. But it still hasn't produced what I think is the ultimate result, which is a Big Sky Conference tournament title and NCAA tournament berth. So relief in the sense that I'm glad that we're moving forward in a program, but not in a negative way. Not to say that Randy, what Sean said's right. I mean, Randy's done phenomenal things here. Every coach has a time where it's better that they move on. That doesn't mean that they fail. My ultimate example of that is Bronco Mendenhall going from BYU to Virginia.
No BYU talk on this pod.
Sorry, I made it like 5 minutes, but sometimes things need to change, and that's not a negative thing. I think too many times we tend to look at change as being that people failed, but that's not what happened here, and that's not the case. Randy hasn't failed, but change is not a negative thing.
So let me point something out, and this is something I had a conversation with a friend today. We were in Boise at the Big Sky tournament, and after the loss to Montana State, we went down to the press conference and watched Randy. And I'm going to say Randy looks beat up and tired, right? You could tell something there that this season, whether it's the last 5 seasons, whatever, this was a different guy that didn't have the energy than he did 16 years ago, which, look, who has the energy they had 16 years ago? We're all getting older, right? But I credit him for not for leaving on his terms and not driving the program into the ground as he did it, right? A lot of guys would and I'm gonna say, look, Lavelle Edwards did great things in 1984. By 1999, he wasn't the same coach.
What is this BYU talk on my pod?
I'm using it as a metaphor and as an example, right?
It's a relevant in-state example.
You want to go out on your own terms. You don't want to be Ron McBride, who comes in with a flash and leaves every job. Not as great as he found it, maybe, right? Or is a victim of his own success, right? You need to move on. We need to treat Randy Rahe like he is. He is the all-time winningest coach in Big Sky history. A lot of that is part of longevity, 16 years. Nobody sticks around the Big Sky for 16 years. So, as Chappie is fond of saying, these were the good old days. Be grateful that we had him. Be grateful we had a coach that didn't treat Weber State like a stepping stone, that made it his home, that was part of the community, was out and about, did great things. And some of the greatest highlights in Weber State basketball history came in the last 16 years, right? And nobody should take that away from him. He should be honored, and whatever the university wants to do to honor him, I'm supportive of. And that's that. And he deserved to go out on his own terms, which he did. So congratulations to Randy, and I hope he and his wife Laura enjoy their retirement and get to do with the things that they want to do. That's what we all dream of, and I think that he's earned that right. We can talk about what the future of the program holds, but I think today we need to honor and respect Randy Rahe and say congratulations and thanks, Coach, for 16 great years.
And
Sean is great years.
Good. Sean's right in the sense that, like, Randy having coached, frankly speaking, Randy having coached Dame means that Randy was going to leave whenever the hell he wanted to leave. Like they weren't going to do anything to rock that cart. Okay. And so Yeah, I very much, Sean, agree with you. Credit to Randy for going out now where they're still good. I mean, are they going to the NCAA tournament every year? No. Is he leaving the program in a really good place? Yeah, and there's
I
something
think
to
there
be
are
said
some fans
there.
that would disagree with that last statement, Chappie, but that's not why we're here today.
That's right.
Yeah,
There's continuity, right? There's going to be continuity, which is what they were going to do.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about Coach Rahe's accolades, right? Because like you said, 16 years, it's a long time, especially like you noted, there will be, I mean, few people coach in the Big Sky for 16 seasons. Coach Rahe won 5 Big Sky championships, 3 trips to the NCAA tournament, Big Sky Coach of the Year 4 times, coaches 6 Big Sky MVPs. That includes Dame Lillard, who won it twice. And also, All-American honors in 2012, his junior season. Joe Bollenboy won the MVP in 2016 and was later drafted by the Jazz, as we all know. Coach Rahe, 41 players selected to an all-conference honor of some, that's an all-conference team, honorable mention, what have you. 198 and 85 in Big Sky Conference play. I mean, these are a lot of numbers, folks, but I mean, overall, you can see over 16 seasons, a lot of accolades. 4-time Coach of the Year, and that's, something that's specific to him. 3 NCAA berths, his first season in 06. 2016, the last time that the Wildcats went, and then was it 2014 when they
Yeah,
faced
2 years before that.
Arizona?
Mm-hmm.
Arizona? Yeah, that's right. And so,
Colby, how many of those numbers are like John Stockton-esque in that nobody will ever touch them just because they're so far out of the range of every other coach in the Big Sky, right? Think about this. We talked about this on the show plenty of times, that in his 16 seasons, he only had three, right, losing seasons where he finished below 500. 3 seasons, maybe 4. My number may be off, but 3 seasons where he finished below number 3 in the conference. Okay, that is a sustained level of winning that most schools would just be envious of. If you went to any school in the country and said, "I'm going to give you 16 years where only 3 of those you're going to finish below 500 and below number 3 in the conference," I think every school in the country says, "Sign me up."
Yeah. So 14 seasons above 500, Sean. 14 of the 16 seasons.
So I was wrong on the bad side, but the point still stands.
Definitely. I think that's one of those things we have to look at Randy Rahe and what he means to this program and everything like that. Is that, you're looking at that. You're looking at, 2 losing seasons now instead, because it was 14 to 16, right? And then 16 years in this league and everything like that. The reason that they were able to go to the transfer portal is because of the legacy that he's basically put up here, right? Like, you're attracting. I mean, look at what we got this year. We got Louis Jordan. We got Keith Dinwiddie. We got JJ Loud.
I'm very high on Keith Dinwiddie, by the way. Very high on that recruit.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of those things. Like, the reason we're able to do that, the reason we're able to attract these players off the transfer portal is because of the reputation that Randy Rahe built here. And so it's going to be one of those things that's kind of interesting is, can we keep up that reputation without him there? And I think Coach Duft has obviously, trained under Randy Rahe for a long time. I think it's one of those things where if there's someone that's right for the job, I would love to see him perform well and see how he does with these new recruits, because this is a new system that was possible from Randy Rahe, and I kind of want to see what the future of it is now without him.
I think we should hold off on talking about Coach Duft, but I want to give one more thing I'm going to give all credit to Brett Hine, who talked about this in his article tonight, and I think it was Randy that brought it up, but there was no scandal, right?
Nope.
We never had players getting arrested. We never had players that were making a bad name for the university. We never had players who were cheating. We had a lot of guys that would leave, go somewhere else. We had a lot of guys that would transfer, whatever, that would leave the program on their own accord. But there was never a scandal. There was nothing like scandals that we've seen locally at other schools, thinking Utah State football, right? And we are so very lucky that he ran a clean program for 16 years. And I wonder, speculation a little bit, how much of the changing infrastructure things, the NIL stuff, the way the college sports landscape is changing, how much of that is Randy saying, gosh, after 37 years, maybe I don't want to get into that, those areas where, let's be frank, Weber State is going to struggle to compete against other schools in the Big Sky, let alone other schools and other conferences, with the NIL. There is not the sponsorship, not the donor money that is there to keep up with this. And unless we're, Jabby, you're disagreeing with me. I think it's a way to go. But
it could be there.
It could be there. It could be there.
Just
but
saying.
We don't have a living, breathing athletic director that's going to make those calls. That's my burn for tonight.
Well, we signed that one company, didn't we, for the NIL stuff? Like the Big Sky did.
Mm-hmm.
I had to edit that article, so I know.
Yeah, that's a conference deal. We don't. What NIL deals does Weber State have? What NIL deals do our athletes have?
That's still the pro. I was just saying. I think we signed that one thing. So I think the Big Sky's on watch with it just a little bit. But yeah,
it is changing. I say this. Big changes like this are always a moment of reflection in the program, right? Like it's a good opportunity for the athletic department and for the university to take a step back for a second and say, how much of a basketball school do we want to be? What changes need to be made? Where do we go from here? What did we do good? It's always a good time for self-reflection when stuff like this happens.
But did they do that?
We don't know. I mean, they didn't have a national coaching search, no. And I think some fans are going to be frustrated with that because it seems to be a pattern. But you're going to, honestly speaking, you're going to have continuity back to Dame. Like that's what's going to happen in this program for now.
Okay.
Well, this feels a lot like the Michigan man statement that Chappie just made. That got to hire a Dame man to coach. And I think I love Dame. I wish him all the best. He's an all-star. But look, this decision, we can speculate all we want. We don't know how this went down. But how much of the conversation in Tim Crompton's office was Randy coming in saying, I'm retiring. I want Eric to be the coach. Dame will call and say, I want Eric to be the coach. It's his to lose. Don't do a search. And Tim Crompton says, I don't want to rock that boat. Derek's the coach.
You don't. And like I said, there's fans that are going to be frustrated with that because they're going to, and I get it. Like I get the frustration, but when you think through it, you're not going to rock that boat.
Because
Dame's not
too,
retired. Right? Dame's got to retire so that he can be the coach. We got to wait that out. So
we just got a comment in the chat. I don't know that. That is perfectly speculation on my part. I full on admit that that's speculation. I think I said that before I said it. We don't know how that conversation went, but gosh, it sure seems that's how that conversation went.
I mean,
on the outside looking in.
Well, it's totally speculation, right? Because we have no idea what happened. Timing is important here because we don't know when Coach Rahe decided to make this decision, right? We don't know when he came to administration to say, hey, because honestly, right now is not the time for a national coaching search. It's not. If you were to announce today that we're going to have a national coaching search, our longtime head coach is retiring, we're going to find somebody, you're going to find that it's not the time to do that because we've got 3 scholarship slots that still need to be filled. And we've got a few players who have committed to coming to Ogden. And if all of a sudden it's like, oh, actually, Jay Casey's, we're going to hire somebody that we don't know yet, and it's going to take us a few weeks, it's just not the right time, right? And so I think that's a consideration.
I completely agree with it. And I know I'm dominating the conversation here because I like to hear myself talk. These are wild assumptions. These are. I don't know the truth to this, but the fact of the matter is, Tim Crompton did the right thing, right? There is continuity. Eric Duft has been there in the program for 16 years. He's keeping his 2 assistant coaches that have been there for 5+ years, each of them, I believe. They've got to hire a new assistant coach. That's the only change, and he's going to be the last guy on the bench, right? We don't know the kind of coach that Eric Duft is going to be, but can we assume that after 16 years of sitting next to Randy Rahe that we're probably going to see a lot of the same things that Randy Rahe did?
Phil Johnson, right? The former Weber State coach, Phil Johnson. I mean, he was probably every bit as capable as Jerry Sloan was in a lot of ways.
Johnson has an NBA Coach of the Year award that Jerry Sloan never got.
That's right. And so So exactly right. It very much mirrors that situation. But then, just to feed into any of the speculation, like where were they going to go? A lot of the coaches in Utah, I mean, Weber's history is either they purge somebody from the Big Sky or go locally. But Craig Smith at Utah is not a local guy. I don't even know who Utah State's coach is right now. But he's not a local guy. Mark Pope is not a local guy. So Mark Madsen at UVU is not a local guy. There's not those tenured local guys that you were going to pick from somewhere else in state, unless this is my flame for the night, unless we took the guy at SUU and stole him somehow. That would have been.
But Chappie,
Simon maybe would have been one that I would have stolen, but that's about it.
But we've talked about this so many times. This is another internal hire for a university that only seems to do internal hires. Brad Morton, the president of the university, was an internal hire.
Yes.
Tim Crompton, athletic director, internal hire. Eric Duft, internal hire. The entire athletic department, internal hires. We have not done a national coaching search or a national search for anybody from the top of the university down.
They may not know how to do it.
But here's my thing with that. The internal hire thing is, I would say, fairly recent, right? Because it's like, okay, yeah, a lot of internal hires, right? But then I say Jay Hill, Jeremiah Larson, Mary Kay Amicone.
Those were
all external hires. And those
were all previous administration, Colby.
Those were all Mr. Bovee.
Sure, I understand that they're all, but what I'm saying is that, like, it's not like the Wildcats only do this ever, right? Like, you look at the programs that are having success right now, they were all external hires. Now, I think that says something, right? That if you want to go get somebody, you're probably going to have to go get it. But that's not fair to Coach Duft. It's like, hey, listen, this is
only for the last 5 years.
I'm perfectly willing to give Coach Duft all the benefits of the doubt. He gets the same 4 seasons that I give any new coach coming in. Prove to me that you can win with your own guys. You get a graduating class, 4 or 5 seasons. I'm happy to do that. Besides, they gave him the full contract. To the point earlier, if we wanted to do a national search, now's not the right time. You make Eric Duft interim coach for 1 season. That's the answer to that. You give him 1 season as an on-the-job interview, and then you go and do your national search in December like every other school, or in March like every other school. The fact is, and I'm not trying to dog on Coach Duff, and I know it sounds like I'm coming across really harsh.
Yeah, it does.
but and I'm sorry, Coach Duff. We want to have you on the show. I think you're going to do great, and you've done great under Randy Rahe. I appreciate the loyalty. That is something that Weaver is known for, is that loyalty. But at some point, we're never going to have anything nice because we don't try to have anything nice.
I see the frustration, but when you start looking at it from all angles, to Colby's point, it's just, you guys are like, they weren't going to do that. You couldn't do that here. It's the wrong time to do a national coaching search. You want continuity. You want to keep the recruits you have. Like, it wasn't going to happen right now.
Right. So
I agree with you, Chappie. I do.
So, guys, let's talk a little bit about Coach Duft then, because, of course, we've talked about, all the accolades of Coach Rahe, 16 seasons. Coach Duft has been here for all 16 of those seasons. He was Randy Rahe's first hire when he became head coach at Weber State in 2006. And so now, taking over the mantle of his, former boss and mentor, no doubt, becoming the 10th head coach in Weber State history. Like you said, he's been here the whole time. He has the connections to the past, the same that Coach Rahe does. And so we had to say goodbye to Chappie. He's got to run to the grocery store, but we appreciate his time here on the show tonight. But guys,
I'd like to tell Chappie that Smith stays open past 9 o'clock.
But let's talk a little bit about Coach Duff, right? Because he's been here the whole time, and now he gets the opportunity. Coach Duff is the one that runs the offense, right? He's out there calling sets, doing those kinds of things. And so how different do things look now that he is the one sitting in head coach's chair and has more control over his vision for the program, when, like I said, he's been there the whole time. And how we've talked a lot about continuity in this conversation, but let's talk about maybe some differences coming for the program in the future.
Simon, go ahead.
Do you see any changes, or do you think things look very similar to what we saw maybe last year?
I think that's a good question. As far as like the first season and everything like that, you have this coach retire that you've been playing with for 16 seasons, had a good thing going. I wouldn't be surprised to see something similar to what we were seeing before. Like, I think he's going to try to mimic that coaching style the first year just because that's what he knows, everything like that. I think once you're part of, running the entire team, running offense, defense, everything like that, you start to figure out a little bit more. And so I think we'll see him develop his own coaching style the longer he goes on. But I think this first year that we have him, he's probably just going to stay a little bit closer to what he knows, which is totally fine. Like, we played under a great coach. This is someone that we definitely want to win with. And Big Sky title, I would love to see it. I think that we always have the weapons to do it. And if he solidifies himself with a Big Sky title right now as the first year coach, I mean, like, he's set for as long as Randy if he wants it. Like, honestly, that's a pretty big deal if you win it your first year. So
you know who won the Big Sky title in their first year, Simon?
Was it Dick Motta that did it?
It was Randy Rahe.
Oh yeah, it was Randy Rahe.
You did, yeah.
Wow, that was bad. Okay, yeah, maybe I need to go for a grocery store run too. But
No, I
inside joke right there now, fellas.
That's going to become a catchphrase. Look, Simon, you're exactly right. I'm going to say this one thing, and I think it's pertinent. You never want to be the guy that follows the guy. You never want to be the guy that replaces a legend, because you have to live up to those shoes. We will see in 1 to 2 seasons whether Eric Duft is going to be up to that expectation. Now, what is that expectation? I don't think it's fair to put on Eric Duft any more expectations than we had on Randy Rahe. You knew what Randy Rahe was going to give you. He was going to give you 20 wins most years. He was going to be top 3 in the conference. And for the first 10 years, he got you a Big Sky title every 3rd year, right? That's what fans expect, is to be top 3 in the conference, 20 wins, and win the conference tournament once every 3rd year. That's the expectations of the fans. Now is he going to live up to that? We'll see in the next 3 years.
Yeah, and I also think he has to live up to the reputation of being an excellent recruiter too now, because that's something that's been born into that system now that I was kind of talking about earlier. Just some of the transfers that we got going on. This is, kind of the direction of Weber State right now, and that may change under Coach Duft. I don't know that yet, but he will be expected to be a good recruiter too. So I would like to add on to that.
Yeah, guys. The recruiting thing is an important one, but I also wanted to ask, Sean, you were there. You talked about, Coach Rahe looking, a little bit beat up and tired at the end of that Montana State loss in the semifinals. I think everybody who was watching Big Sky basketball a couple of months ago agreed that was the conference championship, that whoever won that game was going to go to the dance, that, whoever came out of the bottom of the bracket was going to get smashed by either Weber State or Montana State. That's just what it was. Whoever came out of the bottom of the bracket was not going to be able to compete on that level. And I think everybody agrees that that's what happened. Wildcats lose a close one in the semifinals. And so I got to ask, like, how aware do you think Coach Duft is of the deficiencies of the program right now, the needs of what this Wildcat team needs? Because Eastern Washington and Montana State aren't going away. Montana is a perennial power. They're going to have Mac Jones back. Yes, they lost some key pieces that have transferred out of their program, but they're always going to be competitive in Missoula, right? Northern Colorado has been very good. They aren't going away either. And so the current landscape of the Big Sky Conference, I mean, is this now an opportunity for Coach Duft to say, okay, it's a new opportunity for him. He knows what the team needs. He's been to the top of the mountain with Coach Rahe. He knows what it takes. How much license does he take now to say, here's what we're going to do to compete in the new Big Sky Conference?
Honestly, to answer that question, I don't know. But if I'm Eric Duft, and who knows how long it took to get the contract signed and deal done, but if I'm Eric Duft, I don't want to take the Weber State job without some assurances that facilities at Weber State basketball are going to improve. Let's take a walk around the campus. Almost every athletic team has gotten some sort of new facility except basketball. You look at the football north end zone, you look at what they've done with the softball, you look at the football indoor practice field, and in addition to the ice sheet, I know there's politics and stuff like that. There has not been an improvement in facilities in basketball, and they are due. And I've heard I can't confirm this, but I've heard that they don't even show recruits the locker room when they come to Weber State campus for their visits.
Yeah, I
right?
think you're right. Yeah, I think you're
There,
absolutely right.
there are improvements that need to be made, and if I'm Eric Duft, I say, look, I need a guarantee that you're going to put basketball ahead. We've done football, we've done softball, we've done some things for other sports. We've got an academic center that serves everybody, but we need an upgrade to some facilities. We need an upgrade to the marketing plan to get fans out to games. We need to change how we do things so that people don't call us status quo state. I don't know if he has that juju or that mentality, or whether he's just grateful for the job. I don't know, but that's what I would have asked for, because that's what a coach coming in from the outside would have asked for.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point, right? Because I don't know if you guys saw recently, a couple of months ago, Montana just redid their locker rooms, and they look really, really similar to what the football team has here at Weber State, right? Similar kind of designs, kind of dark in there. They've got the logo in the ceiling, all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Obviously smaller because you don't need as many, less scholarships, but nice, right? A nice job. It's not like they built a new Dahlberg is still Dahlberg, right? It is what it is, but they upgraded those locker room facilities there. And I would agree with you, Sean, that like if we're going to be competitive in the new Big Sky, it's an arms race right now in the Big Sky. Montana is building an indoor facility for themselves. Montana State just opened their own indoor facility, and that's for football. But what I'm saying is I think NAU just opened a new facility for themselves. Like there's a lot going on in the Sky, and I think that you're right that like it is maybe time for a focus. That a lot of money has been spent on other sports. I think volleyball could still use some love, but that's my personal thing. For the success.
I wish I had to give it to Coach Larson. If I had $1 million, Jeremiah, it's yours, but I don't have it.
They could really use some things in Club Swenson that would really improve the experience there. But like there are only so many things you can do over a period of time. You're like there's so much success, guys. Do you realize that I realized this today while I was thinking about just the season that we've talked about throughout the year on this show? The Wildcats have gone to the conference championship in nearly every Olympic sport this year. They went in soccer.
That's pretty good.
They went in volleyball. They went in softball and won it. They went in women's tennis. They did not go in men's tennis. They went in golf and won, right? Like, I mean, basically everything you could ask for that wasn't football or basketball, they were there.
Yep.
Every single time.
But so I hate to say it, but football and basketball are still the front door of the university.
That's fair. That's totally fair. And so that's where I would say I agree with you that like, the university has had to make investments throughout the campus, and they've done those things. But maybe now time to come back to the D and invest in some of those facilities, because maybe the Wildcats are starting to fall a little bit behind in what we offer to recruits, because we know, we've seen a lot of really good recruits come because of that north entrance. And I think that if we're going to continue to be competitive in this Big Sky environment, that's probably the case. And so maybe Coach Duft did ask for those things, right? And another thing I want to point out, we don't know what the contract is yet either. We don't know what his term is, how long of a leash he has been given by the university. We'll see. I mean,
somebody's going to fulfill that records request pretty darn soon, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Simon.
It even be me.
I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. But if he's requesting that, all I can say is if you're listening to this, Coach Duft, massage chairs for the press table would be very, very nice. And I think if you can squeeze that out of him, just hear me out.
He wants the X chair that's advertised on all your popular podcasts.
Oh yeah, I love that show. I love the show where it is. Like I'm right behind, the players bench and everything like that. But it could always get better. So But yeah.
All right. Look, I think I've been very critical tonight, and I need to step back and say I wish Eric Duft all the best. I will be there in my normal seat, cheering on the Wildcats just like I always have. This is an opportunity. But just like any first-year coach, he's got something to prove. He's got to show that what he can do as a basketball coach. And whether it's fair or not, Wildcat fans have high expectations, and we're going to see what kind of coach Eric Duft is. And I hope that he is just as great and just as good as Randy Rahe. And if he can elevate the Wildcats a little bit, all the better.
Yep. Same. I mean, we'll obviously be rooting for Coach Duft. Want to see him succeed. Next year is a big one. I think it's going to be a relatively young team. We haven't seen any major transfers in from seniors yet, but there are 3 slots still open, and there are folks out there. I mean, the thing is this: it's now past May 1st, and so there are no new entrances into the portal. So what's out there is out there. So we'll just kind of see kind of what happens. But obviously, rooting for him, hoping to see the success, and I don't know. Maybe a Randy Rahe repeat where first season win a conference championship and go to the NCAA tournament. Wouldn't mind that. 2016 is starting to feel like a long time ago, folks.
Love to have it.
And I think one of those things too, especially one of the bigger things you can do is Eric Duft. Obviously, conference championship is huge, but I think we've talked about it on the show a few times that Dylan Jones is a player with NBA talent. I think he's one of those guys that we could get into the NBA. And I think if you really want to make an impact at Weber State, especially as your first couple of years and everything, you've got a phenomenal junior that you can really make the best player you can out of. And you got you got players that are talented enough to do it. But I think especially if he can make Dylan Jones the best player he possibly can, it'll be something we remember. So
technically a sophomore on the books. So,
technically it's on the book still, but junior year, you know what I meant.
I do 2 freshman years. Yeah.
I don't have to make a grocery run on that statement.
I love that, man.
Fantastic.
Well, fellas, really appreciate your time tonight. Kind of talk through this seismic shift in Weber State men's basketball hoops, the end of an era in Ogden, as Coach Randy Rahe hangs it up after 16 seasons in the Purple Palace. Want to wish Coach Rahe and his wife Laura the best of luck. They'll always be welcome in Ogden. Obviously, I don't think they're moving; they'll be around, so we'll see them. But want to thank them for all of their time and all of the great memories that we've had here at Weber State. And just there have been a lot of really special moments with Coach Rahe at the helm. So want to wish him the best in his retirement. Guys, let's wrap up the show like we usually do. Weber State.
Great.
Great.
Go Wildcats.
Thank you, Randy Rahe.